Welcome to the Lakers Nightcap. I'm your host, Joe Soro. To my left is El Sombra. That's Yiddish. That is Jackass in Yiddish. And below us is Gerald bragging about where he is somewhere in the west side of things.
Aloha.
Yes. Aloha, mahalo, and arrivederci to you too. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's what it is. Yeah.
It's in
Anyways.
Hawaii.
So you think I can't touch my toes? You think
I
don't
didn't.
get
I,
touch?
di- I didn't say that. I said I questioned whether
Question.
you can
All right.
or not.
So you screwed up this entire show because now I got to show everybody. So I'm going to show everybody that I can, and then we're going to get back to talking basketball. Are you
How
ready?
are we going to see? Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen it now. I got Joe Soro to touch his toes.
Crazy.
Eat it. So we just unenjoyed a game here the last 2.5 hours. I don't know about you guys, but it's looking like the Celtics have the momentum to finish this eventually. I'm not saying it's over yet, but they looked like they were determined. They looked like they were ready. They looked like they're really, really wanting to get number 18 in their building first, which is only going to make this whole 2-3 year run here even worse for Laker fans and us in general. So, Sean, I'm going to start with you. Do you expect Dallas to come out in Game 2 and not have Luka Doncic waddle around for 48 minutes like he did tonight?
They might evacuate themselves again, Joe.
Really?
It's quite possible.
So, Gerald, do you concur?
They look bad right now, Joe. They look totally unprepared, and I'm not convinced Jason Kidd will throw up a game plan that can go ahead and get them back on the right track.
Okay, so you're telling me that Jason Kidd coached well up until this point, now he's trash?
No.
You don't think this was just the Mavericks' inability to move? All the players looked like they were dead.
Yeah.
So what did Jason Kidd do? Did he have him running suicides all week?
They just didn't seem prepared.
So not being prepared
difference
made them lazy?
It can.
Okay. I don't know if I buy that. I think ultimately what happened was I think Dallas thought they would come out and start doing their thing, and then all of a sudden Boston went on that run to finish the first quarter, and they're like, oh, crap, these guys came to play.
Well, have you heard of you know what the quicksand effect is?
Let us know what that means. Not everybody knows.
Okay, so there's a great scene in the movie The Replacements. Replacements is an underrated sports movie. Anyway, Keanu Reeves is playing Shane Falco, quarterback of the team. And the guys in the locker room don't really understand what the word quicksand means. They literally think it means being stuck in quicksand. So when they asked Shane to explain himself, he said, you're playing the game and you think you're doing okay. And then one thing goes wrong. And then another. And then another. And then you try and dig yourself out of that hole, but it just keeps getting worse. Mistakes on top of mistakes, layered mistakes over and over again. That's what happened to the Mavs tonight. They just kept making errors. Some players kept making the same errors, as Joe alluded to. Luka Doncic, for example, looked like he hadn't gone to the bathroom in about 2 days because he was just had 40. Can I swear on this one, Joe?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, he was pretty backed up. That's what it looked like. And he was waddling around like a duck. And quite frankly, I don't buy Tim Hardaway playing well in clutch, in pressure cooker games. He doesn't show up. He'll play well in a game 5 when they're up 3-1. He'll shoot 7 of 10 from deep, have 28 points, 5 rebounds. But when he's up against fair competition or superior competition, he'll shoot 2 of 10 and like 1 of 6 from 3. I don't trust Tim Hardaway in the clutch. He's not his dad. Then you have Derek Lively, who's a rookie, who actually kind of looked like a rookie tonight. And you've got then you have to rely on Kyrie and PJ Washington, basically. And I mean, did Kyrie really show up tonight?
No.
No, he did not. So the Mavs rely on Luka and or Doncic playing well, and usually if one of them is having an off night, PJ Washington and a couple other guys step up, but that didn't happen. And their defense is just kind of a muddled mess. They need to figure something out, especially with Jason Tatum getting way too many open looks. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm guessing that at least 50% of his shots were defender didn't get within 5 to 7 feet of him. So you have to actually take away his airspace. And it was just little things like that, Joe, that compounded. And that's the quicksand. And that's why I think they need to come out with a sense of urgency in game 2. But I don't know if they're mentally focused and prepared enough to do that.
Well, I'm not going to call it dead yet. This happens sometimes. 2012, Oklahoma City beat Miami in game 1. They ended up doing a gentleman's sweep. Little history, even back in the 80s, the the famous massacre of game 1 in 1985. I believe it was called the Memorial Day Massacre. And then the Lakers ended up winning 4 of the next 5 games, winning the championship for the first time against Boston. So I'm gonna slow everyone's roll here a little bit and say, even if the Celtics win a close one in game 2, it's still not over. It's when the road team wins up 2-0 is when things are likely over. But I will say this about the Celtics. The Celtics look like they're on a mission, and the Celtics are perfectly constructed not only to match up well with Dallas, but also match up in today's NBA basketball game. You have bigs, tall guys, whatever you want to call them, that can all shoot, that can all spread the floor, that all can pass, and half of them can play defense. So it's not an accident that these guys won 64 games and ran through the Eastern Conference the Eastern Conference playoffs 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, and might be going through this in 4-1 as well. It's a complete team, right for this era. They have a lot to prove. They have 2 superstars on the team and a bunch of role players that know their roles and have really perfect management. So if they win this championship, they will have earned it. They will have basically told the NBA that we're here and we're gonna be here for a while, because they have been here for a while. Once you win that first one, a lot of times it gets easier. But I'm not going to get into the future of this right now. It's unfortunate, but the Celtics look good in game 1. Mavericks did not. To put more context in the situation with Luka Doncic, I said this on playback, folks. There's a reason why Michael Finley took away that beer from Luka. Luka likes to, I guess, do his extracurricular activities, and we don't need to watch him drinking beer to know that. We can look at his physique. And we also discussed tonight on playback that he looked like he had actually, Nick Molina and I talked about it actually because Nick brought it up. Looked like Luka gained some weight in the last 6 days. I mean, he looked bigger. And these guys looked like they might have been celebrating. They might have been doing what the Orlando Magic did in 1995 after they beat Indiana in Game 7. They thought maybe they were going to go all the way and win it after winning their conference. Folks, got to win the 4th game in the finals before you can start drinking beer and being a jackass. Don't do this. So Jason Kidd's going to need to get these guys in the whatever huddle that he wants to get them into and say, guys, you got a little bit of a butt kicking here tonight, to put it lightly. We'll give you a mulligan on this one, but you guys got to come out in Game 2 and run these guys out their own gym, and then let those guys start thinking about all those times that they couldn't get over the hump. See, that's the thing here. If Dallas can tap into that, you could see Boston fold because they folded before, and teams that fold from before usually fold again. Some make it through. I'm not saying they won't, but the percentage is higher that they will fold if they've folded before over and over again. And with that, I want to ask Gerald our next question. Gerald, if you had to predict how Game 2 is going to go here, do you see Dallas using what didn't work tonight and switching it and possibly stealing one in Boston before they go to Dallas?
There's a possibility, Joe, but they have to come out with a lot more energy, especially in that first half. They spit themselves in the third quarter just trying to get it back under 10. You could clearly see that. And obviously we saw what happened. Boston went on a run and put the game out of reach. But it's clear that Boston is going to live and die with the 3. So if you can find a way to figure out how to effectively guard the perimeter on Boston a lot better. Plus, if you can single out Al Horford on mismatches, and Porzingis as well with your guards, I think they need to do a better job of that. They totally took away Dallas's pick and rolls where they get the lobs. A lot of their lob game was done and gone, and that's something they have to get back. But again, to me, I think with Dallas, it comes down to is how well. Not that so much Kyrie and Luka play because, well, Kyrie did play bad today, and that was a big part of it. But how the auxiliary guys, especially the 3 and 4 guys with PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr., those 2 are very key to their success, and they played awful today. So I think a lot is riding on them in the next game.
So Boston takes Game 1, 107-89 against the Dallas Mavericks, and it wasn't really close, really, all game. It was essentially wire to wire. Not officially, but pretty much was. So with that, we're going to see what happens here on Sunday. The teams have a couple more days to...
He's got to stop falling on the floor. That's a big thing with him.
Who?
Luka.
Oh, no. Luka is starting to mimic LeBron James.
Have you ever experienced a floor burn before, sir?
Yes.
Okay. He has those a lot. Did anyone notice his knees were bleeding against the Minnesota Timberwolves?
I didn't.
Yeah, they were.
Oh.
He has knee bleeding in the regular season as well, especially when he wears those sleeves. You can tell. Some people just have really thin skin, like literally thin skin. It's paper thin. And those floor burns can really affect the way you play a game.
Well, if that's the case,
Jamal Murray's had that problem since he was in Kentucky. Certain players, certain people are just prone to that, and I'm not it's not an excuse, but it is a reason to explain why he waddles around or struggles, because he's got. Let's face it, you are a slave to your genes at times. You can't help it. So he's got thin skin, literally and figuratively, and it affects the way he plays.
So we're getting a couple of people coming in now and talking about how they feel.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting how they always come around wins. They never show up when their team loses. So we're here to have a normal conversation and enjoy the evening. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. It's game
Joe,
one.
no one sees it because he's on Twitch. No one, don't even, just ignore him. He's
Yeah.
on Twitch. I'll get rid of him.
Good. We're here to talk. We're here to talk basketball here. Have you noticed that Laker fans haven't been derogatory to the Celtic fans or the Celtics in general? We've actually said many a times that if it wasn't for the jersey, we'd actually be cheering for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. We actually like those guys. And of course, Drew Holiday is another one of my favorites. Kristaps Porzingis arrived for the first time in almost a month and a half here, Gerald?
Yep.
Yeah. And dropped 20 points, which really was the kind of like that deflating air thing where they're like, oh, man, this guy comes in his first game and can't miss. So, again, when you have those guys that are spreading the floor that are 8 feet tall and not missing, it's virtually impossible to guard this team with what Dallas has. Even their bigs can't camp out there all day. Otherwise, there's no use for them out there on defense. So this was a game that Jason Kidd's going to have to start. Either he's going to need to get the cement shoes off these guys, or this is just what it's going to be. Maybe it's just not a good matchup for Dallas. Maybe these guys are moving the ball too quick, too easy, too fluidly. And then if they're making shots, what was it, 7 players, Sean, that had Celtics had 7 players with multiple three-point shots?
Yep.
If these guys are hitting their shots, it doesn't matter who they're playing. They're going to win. So Luka needs to stop acting like he's hurt, even if he is, and start being Luka Doncic the rest
By
of
the
the
way,
way.
the dude on Twitch is gone. Goodbye.
Yeah, well, again, if you're going to play stupid, you're going to get treated like a stupid. That's just what it is. So the finals have started out terribly for Laker fans.
Hey, Joe, what do you call a hot tourist in Boston?
Hot tourist?
Yeah. What do you call a hot girl in Boston?
I give up.
Yeah, tourist.
That's funny.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said, what do you call a hot woman in Boston?
A tourist?
A tourist.
Okay, because you started with that one first. I think you messed it up.
Yeah, I know.
Confused me. Okay, so the joke is, what do you call a hot chick in Boston? A tourist.
Hotter.
Okay.
Yeah, no one wants to hear that.
I've had my fill of the chowderheads for the evening. Let's get back to Laker basketball. Earlier today, we had an impromptu show, an impromptu snack pack, where we discussed a out of left field, right field, and center field discussion about who's going to be the Lakers' new head coach. And yes, folks, it's Dan Hurley. I know that some of you out there guessed that.
Well, let me just clarify, Joe. They are going to meet on Friday, so we'll know hopefully by Friday afternoon whether or not officially he's going to go.
Word is they're going to make a decision within the next 72 hours.
They're going to offer him.
Word is his wife came out to L.A., who happens to be a New Yorker. Word is the contract's going to be 10 years at the 100 to 120 million.
Good money if you can get it.
Okay, so I want you all to illuminate me. Sean, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Why the hell would you pay a coach $10 million? This isn't Mark Davis, is it? Why would you pay a coach 10 years for whatever? Why would you sign him for 10 years? Go ahead, Sean.
because he's 50-50 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're 50-50 on something, Joe, like when you're literally on the fence, that means you're saying you're happy where you are. Can the people who are negotiating with you make you happier? Now, money isn't the main thing, but it's the main thing, Joe. You know where that line comes from.
I understand that part. However, this can't be
You're
about.
not hiring him for 3 years. That's the point that needs to be um, capsized right now. You're not hiring him for 3 years. You're not hiring him for 4 years. You're hiring him because you think you're going to give him the time, the money, the personnel in order to change this culture because it needs a serious shakeup.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, Joe, when's the last time you and the wife painted the house inside?
I think 6 years ago.
Okay. Why when you got the paint, why did you put it in the shaker?
So I can mix it.
Exactly. Things need to coagulate. We're stuck in ragu right now. It's just this thick sludge we were talking about, this nepotistic sludge that they're in. And it goes around and around and around and around. And eventually their solution just circle the drain and they're gone.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit more because we didn't talk about it earlier today. I'm not understanding the tenure offer, 5 to 6, or if you want to guarantee he gets there, 7. Let's say. Why,
Joe,
if
they're
you're,
clearly overbidding on him, overpaying him. They're not making the same mistake they
I
made
know
with
why they're doing it.
Krzyzewski 20 years ago.
I know why they're
Exactly.
doing it. I know why they're doing it, and it's actually a smart move because you want to guarantee you can get him over there. Right now, he's getting paid. What is it? 5 for 54, something like that. 6. I haven't seen his contract with UConn
He would still be
exactly.
what, the third or fourth highest paid in the NBA, because I think what Monty Williams and Spoelstra are the two highest paid.
Yes.
Spoelstra number one.
And
Okay.
Popovich number 2, and then I think
It can't all be
Spoelstra's
about the
number
money,
3.
though, folks. It can't be all about the money because money doesn't come into the discussion in those late nights in Cleveland, late nights in Atlanta.
Oh, Joe, it says that his salary is actually around $5.4 million.
Okay, so 5.4 million in the state of Connecticut, correct?
Yes.
Which means their taxes are comparable to California.
Yes.
Okay, so now they go in there and they're like, all right, we need to establish a culture here, and we're tired of getting a coach every other year. It all makes sense if you look at it from a completely objective standpoint. Forget about Lakers, forget about UConn, forget about who the names are, okay? You are an objective viewer. You don't know anything about the situation. You hear that there is the back-to-back amateur, the level below what you have. You know, I know the G League and I know Europe. I'm talking about the way it's set up in America.
Connecticut is 6.99%. California is 7.25%.
Okay, so they're pretty much the same. Plus, again, they've got millionaire taxes. I think that they both have and all that crap. So it's essentially the same. You have a guy who's actually said that if the right offer came, he would go to the NBA. He is interested in going to the NBA. The Lakers are going to have to understand that if they're going to change the culture of what they have, they're going to have to bring in someone who's got true leadership and has a system that's going to work for the next 5 years with LeBron, without LeBron, with AD, without AD. So if that's the case, if they ride home with this coach, then it has to be for the next 5 to 10 years. But, folks, it's very, very difficult when you look at the history of this. I want you to follow me here for a second. What happened in 1982 with the Lakers? Pat Riley took over Paul Westhead's situation and then won a title. And then won another title. And then won 2 more titles. But, see, that team was ready-made. Greg Popovich went from front office down to the floor. Guess what year? 1996. That year, 1997, 96. 1996, 97. And who did they get? 97? Tim Duncan. Who else? Who else is left? Came in 2014, 15. Ready-made team. Star power. All that. Ready to take off. Steve Kerr. Now, the difference between those 3 things or situations and this Lakers situation is you're not getting these guys on the ascent. You're getting half of it on the decline. How is that going to work is going to be the question.
So, Joe, let me ask you a question here. Previous to Phil Jackson, who's been the longest tenured Lakers
That's the other one,
coach?
by the way, too. Phil Jackson. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention him as well.
Since 1990, okay, we'll just go back almost 35 years. Who is the longest tenured Lakers coach outside of Phil Jackson?
Longest tenured coach besides Phil Jackson is Pat Riley.
No, since 1990.
Oh, 90. Oh, sorry. Del Harris.
Yes. 94 to 99.
Mm-hmm.
94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99.
And he won a coach of the year in that time as well.
Mm-hmm. Since 1990, you've had 2 coaches who have coached over 6 years. Now, that's a nice effect. There you go. Yeah. So basically, coaches have an expiry in Los Angeles, Joe, but that is true. That being said, unless you give a guy that kind of time, he's not going to be a winner for you either. Riley had 9 years, and he was already an assistant when they won 2.
This is all scenario based. It's got the ingredients.
Well, you're giving Hurley that amount of time because you think he can be a winner.
But it's likely he won't be a winner until LeBron is gone.
Okay.
Because they don't have the assets to improve the roster at the moment unless they get very, very lucky.
Mm-hmm. Now, when Jerry West took over as head coach in 76, were the Lakers prepared to win a championship then?
When Jerry West took over in
76.
76? Well, that's a great question. From my research, they had reached the Western Conference Finals in 1977 and then got beat by Portland that year. They had traded for Kareem in 75 and reached the conference finals in 77. I'd say they were, but they ran into a better team at the time.
And Jerry West decided that he couldn't coach the Lakers to a championship, Joe. He wasn't the guy.
He knew that in 1980.
Well, he knew it before then. He just kept being head coach.
And that's a good thing. You can say that. That's always been a question for me. What made Jerry not understand? Was it just simply the great player not being able to connect, not able to understand his players? Was he not able to motivate, or did they not? They just not have the.
Look, when you look at the great players who have decided to get behind the bench, and let's go down the list: Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Wayne Gretzky. None of those guys were successful as head coaches to reach the summit to win a championship as a coach. Why? All three of them said the same thing. I couldn't get the guys to do what they needed to do in order to win.
So Paul Westhead was able to, with Pat Riley.
Well, at that point in time, Jerry decided I'm just gonna get the right personnel around the guy. That's my job.
So we're looking
There's
at
a certain tact you need as a coach to push the right buttons at the right time. Great players can't do it. They can't translate their performance as a great player to being a great coach. It's never happened before. Pele was not a good football coach. He wasn't. Diego Maradona was a disaster as a football coach. He was a disaster. The greatness that they have, the stuff, Joe, we call it the stuff, right? Some guys just have the stuff. That stuff doesn't translate into being a great coach. But guys like Phil Jackson, Scotty Bowman, Greg Popovich, they have the stuff as a head coach. They get guys to believe in themselves and to translate into winning. Dan Hurley has the stuff. He gets guys into not only to learn his system, but to love his system. So if you have to get a bigger carrot in order for him to come to your patch of land, then so be it. Because the results speak for themselves. He's a winner.
So Cool Bro asked a good question. For finally, giving you props, so you know I'm not a hard-hearted man. If you do the right things, I'm going to prop you up. So Cool Bro asked, "How do we know Dan is going to be a good head coach?" Here's the answer to that, Cool Bro. We don't. But like Bloodhound said, we appreciate them swinging for the fences, because what choice do they have at this point? Either they get rehashed stuff, or they have to go get podcasters and malcontents to coach their team, or you at least go after a guy that has an edge that your team really needs. Would you say he's like Tom Thibodeau in terms of his work ethic or his workload?
I think results speak for themselves.
Would you say that he would be running his team down because he's known to? And again, I'm sorry, guys, that it's hard to put things to memory, right? When you're learning something, it's hard to put things to memory without thinking, without repetition. Kobe said when someone asked him, "Where do you get your confidence from?" He said, "Repetition."
Mm-hmm.
When you can do things without thinking, when you can do things, when you can adjust, you become a whole different beast. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. The offense, the defense, they're going to set themselves a certain way.
And by the way, there are levels to the difference between being an animal and being a beast.
Yeah, because what? Rabbits are animals, but are you a lion?
A bear.
Are you a bear? The word animal is usually a derogatory term to say why an animal doesn't have the IQ of a human being, right? But Joe, is
But I
Dan
think
Hurley
what
known for
Coolbro's
being
trying to understand is how do we know he'll be a good coach?
We don't know.
We don't know. But
We don't know. But
because to give an example, Billy Donovan, he won a national championship, but he's
2.
got 2, and he's got mediocre results at best in Chicago. Again, we could have the greatest coach in the world, but what?
let me say one thing about Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan was one game away from probably winning a championship with Oklahoma City. And
I'm
sometimes
talking about in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Well,
Yeah,
in
Gerald
Chicago-
mentioned Chicago.
I know, but I'm trying to
Chicago.
get his entire workload in the NBA. When he's had the right team, he's gotten really close, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes,
And that's the key. We need to put a team and build a team around him that can compete, which I don't know. That's the other part of the equation, Joe, of what we can do. I don't have faith or confidence enough yet to see if Rob Pelinka can pull that off.
So there's basically, if you're gonna hire Dan, there's two there are 2 periods. There's BL and AL. Before LeBron, after LeBron. So Dan's gonna have to figure out how to make this work on the fly. WL, AL with LeBron and after LeBron. So unless you figure out the right mix in 2 years on the fly, like you said, Joe, this is going to be a long-term goal of trying to win a championship. Now, if you're going to do that, then you need to start with 2 conclusions. One is you're not stripping down this house to the studs yet, which you should probably be doing if you're going to hire him anyway. And 2, since you're not stripping the house to the studs yet and you're renovating it, then if you're going to renovate it, don't have the same problems you had before where you're, oh yeah, we need a new bathroom. So you got the bathroom. Oh, you know what the problem is? The pipes. The pipes are made of lead, Gerald. So we got to get new pipes. Oh, we fixed the pipes. But now the back of the wood is rotting out. So now we got to get new. It just problem compounding problem, especially with LeBron. So if Hurley is coming in here, then there's expectations that LeBron, if he's not, if the reports are accurate, and we don't believe them, but let's say for shirts and giggles they are, that LeBron has no say in the coaching hire. Then if that's the case, why the hell should you have any input on personnel then, LeBron? If you don't have any say in the coach, what makes you think you're in a situation where you can dictate personnel? You can't, because you'd look like a hypocrite, wouldn't you? Oh, I don't care who coaches this team. It could be Dan Hurley, JJ Redick. It could be oh God, Olivia Dukakis. I don't know. It's anybody. Take your pick. So it's a moot point for LeBron and his people to keep saying, "Well, we're not dictating who's hiring the coach." Oh, but Rich Paul wants to dictate to you whether you draft Bronny James or not. You see the disconnect in logic here, everybody, that LeBron's people and LeBron himself have over this situation. Well, I want to stay, but I want to get paid a lot of money to do it, but I don't want to make people believe that I'm dictating who's hiring the coach, but I also want them to draft my son. There is no logic. So if he has no input in the coach, he gets no input on personnel. Bottom line. And if I was Dan Hurley, and I'm not, but if I was in that position, I would have that leverage to say, I answer to Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss. I don't answer to him. I answer to you.
Okay. Clear and concise, like Sean Grice. You like that one? I just made it
Not
up.
bad.
Now, I'm going to ask Gerald the question that no one's asking. We're waiting for someone to ask, but no one's asked. Gerald, what if we get to tomorrow or the end of the weekend and Dan stays at UConn?
And I still wear this damn thing.
Now,
Well,
based
it's embarrassing.
off what we know, the leak looks even worse. It actually proves that it was a leak. And the question is going to be, why was it leaked? Why? Let's just say so Adrian Wojnarowski did a book on Dan Hurley's father. He did a book, so they're close, right? That's where this makes sense, that Woj got some kind of inside information from the family and let this out. Now, what was the benefit of that coming out? Is it for leverage? Is it to test the Lakers to see how they're going to react?
It's CYA, Joe. It's to cover his ass. Let's just put it out there for all it. They blew it. We talked about how all these insiders blew it. They were just led to whatever sources they had were leading them down the wrong path on who the Lakers' real first target actually was. And with all that said and done, tomorrow we'll know for sure, because the Lakers are meeting with Dan Hurley tomorrow to finalize an offer and to get a final yes or no. So at least this is being done quickly. So we'll know quickly whether or not Dan Hurley is interested in the Lakers. And according to Pale Fox, supposedly Dan has also flown to Los Angeles today and is dropped. He's actually in your neck of the woods right now, Joe. Supposedly, if what the reports are true, but according to the reports, again, going back to it, they are discussing it. But I think when Woj gets word of that, maybe he got word of it on the Hurley's end. I'm not sure exactly where he got it from, but at this point, all of those insiders have looked like idiots, and at this point, it's about trying to cover your butt as best you can and to put out the fire as best you can, because of all the stuff that you said that was absolutely wrong on who the Lakers' first target actually was, Joe.
So I want to understand something. What is the infatuation with these reporters? Why do you need to know at 8:39? How is your life going to change by knowing something happened at 8:39 p.m. Pacific Standard Time versus knowing it at 8:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time?
By the way, I will say big shout out and mahalo to Hernan, who bought a Hawaiian pizza in honor of me being here in Hawaii. All the best to you, my friend.
Cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. Awesome.
Well, Joe, let me ask you a question. And yes or no, we don't need to get in the weeds. Is UConn a blue blood basketball organization in college basketball?
Oh, yeah.
Do you agree, Gerald?
Blue blood as a how? I mean, are they one of the top organizations?
You know what I mean by blue blood. Are they a blue blood?
Yes.
I'd say yes. I mean, my
Okay.
gosh, when it comes to them, Kentucky, I mean, there's a certain set of Gonzaga. There's a certain set of schools right now. It's haves and have-nots in college basketball right now, and Connecticut is certainly
I
have basketball.
Yeah,
team.
I would agree. I think they have lapsed Indiana as a blue blood. I don't consider Indiana a blue blood anymore, Gerald.
No, not
Yes.
anymore. Now that the Big 10 is now what, the Big 23. I don't know what it is now these days, but yeah,
We look at in the last 25 years, the Lakers and UConn have won the same amount of championships.
Right.
6. So
So
UConn, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas. Who's the next one? North Carolina?
I would say the Tar Heels, yeah, because you can't even consider the Bruins in there anymore.
No. Bruins gone, Indiana gone, really since the turn of the century, without a doubt. Villanova's stuck their nose in there a little bit.
A little bit,
Florida,
but they're not there yet.
Yeah, Florida stuck their nose, but not
Florida's
really.
there too,
Yeah,
Joe.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's those 5, and then like Joe was saying, Villanova and Florida hover around there.
Check the tape, Alan. You weren't here. I already did it. So when the show's over,
he did it out anyway.
Don't ever doubt me again. I will virtually slap your ass next time.
So,
Go ahead, Sean. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
How many times have we derailed our trains of thought? It's a loving thing, Joe. Anyway, so when we're talking about leverage, even though UConn is a blue blood, there's only so much money that can go around. They extended Gino, and I think, Gerald, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's still the highest paid women's basketball coach, although Don Staley may have passed him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Gino's up there.
He's up there. Dan Hurley's making over 5.25 right now, Joe. They can't afford to pay him more. The issue is that it's like there are rich teams and there are richer teams, and UConn needs to balance out. Like Joe was saying, they're in a state with a high tax rate. They also have to compete with other organizations and programs as far as NIL is concerned. That money has to get divvied up. Plus, they also have to deal with the fact that now the preeminent NBA franchise is offering your boy at least twice as much as you're paying him right now. A lot of questions about UConn's coffers right now going on the message boards, especially in Connecticut, because after this, it's 50-50 right now. If he decides to stay, then he honors that contract. But he could rip it up right now if he wanted to and say, no, we're going to renegotiate because they want me for 10.5 or 12. UConn can't afford to pay Dan Hurley what he wants if he wants double figures.
So was it 5.6 he's getting paid?
5.25.
5.25. How will he turn down a 5-year, $50 million contract?
How could he turn down a 10-year, $100 million?
I can't. My brain isn't computing that yet. If it happens, I get it. But at this point, that doesn't make any sense. I can't. Again, I'm getting flashbacks of John Gruden, and I remember when I first saw that 10-year.
They've got to overpay Joe in order to get it.
Yeah, but you're paying a first-year NBA coach to coach the illustrious Laker franchise $10 million a year. I don't know how much more enticing that could be. Why would you need another 5 years on top of that? Of course, he's going to take a 10-year, $100 million contract. He's going to take that deal. But why
They're
is
trying to learn from their mistakes on Krzyzewski?
Yeah, but 10 years is a.
Remember, he's helping them in this process. Supposedly,
if you're gonna bring him in for 10 years, that means you have a plan to put him, much like Brad Stevens. If this doesn't work coaching wise, you're gonna put him in an organization. Is that something they're thinking about? Because it doesn't make sense if he starts coaching
I
And then
think I understand where you're going with that, but I think you're looking too far down the road.
I think again they've got Krzyzewski in on this. Maybe Krzyzewski's
I
the
have
one
to look
leading
down
him
the
in
road,
that
guys.
direction.
This team is not likely going to win a championship with him. This team. There'd have to be a massive trick up someone's sleeve to get a player that would change everything. I just don't know if that's possible this offseason. So I got to see what this is. And I think the curiosity here is, what the heck are they going to do if he decides to go back? What was this all about? What was the leaking about? Was it it doesn't make sense to me what the point of the leak was. It's going to come from Hurley's camp. Why would they do that if it did go that way?
Maybe he wanted to make it public so that UConn would be forced to go ahead and renegotiate it.
So
Good
UConn
contract.
comes back and says, no, we're going to take you up to 10 million. So they match the deal and they use the Lakers as their leverage. How
So they
stupid
can.
would the Lakers be? Now, this would play into exactly what we've been calling this
Don't get me
organization.
started on that one, Joe. Because
Guys, you better be prepared for it. Now that we've had a day to kind of sit down and kind of marinate and really think about what's going on, because when Sean woke me up from my slumber this morning with all this Dan Hurley stuff, calling him Bobby, of course, which I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Bobby Hurley, our coach? Are you nuts? And then I thought he was on dope. And then I'm looking on like Bob Hurley, and then I read Dan Hurley. I'm like, what? Like it went from heroin to fentanyl from somewhere else. But then once we started really understanding what was going on,
I knew that would arouse him. I knew that.
I'm like, what?
Bobby Hurley?
Bobby Hurley.
What?
So does UConn have the funds to pay this guy $10 million a year? Will they get boosters to come in and say, all right, we'll take care of it?
They're losing money, Joe. That's the problem.
Then they're not going to pay it. They're going to be able to pay him $10 million a year then.
UConn athletics as a whole posted $93.115 million in operating revenue in the fiscal year of 2023, which unfortunately is down by 5.9 million in comparison to 2022.
I'm Pale Fox again. Well, let's just because Pale Fox is saying that you're leading the listeners and the viewers down the path that you think this is not a good idea to overpay to get Dan Hurley in here. I mean, we've been complaining, Joe, for the past 2.5 weeks now about how
the pay is fine. It's the years.
So remember that number. That was UConn's revenue as an entire university. Their basketball program made $10.6 million in revenue, Joe.
Okay.
In that year. You're going to give Dan Hurley $10 million a year when your revenue is around 10? Not going to happen.
So if that's not going to happen, I'm sure they have people out there that know this, right?
Oh, for sure they do.
So then it wouldn't be a leverage thing. See, this is where I'm confused.
It's called benefactors and donors to the actual university, Joe.
Is the NIL the cause of this too?
It's contributing to it. They have to compete with that.
And the transfer portal and all that stuff, which I like, but it has reverse effects as well. And maybe he sees that he has a team that can't go back to back to back.
Gerald, we're hearing the garbage truck.
Oh, okay. I'll mute it.
Thanks for nothing, Gerald.
Oh, isn't that what you usually do? Provide us nothing.
Yeah, was that? Would you write that down? Waiting.
What? Did you write
that down?
By the way, that literally is one of the best jobs in the world, being garbage man in Hawaii.
If you say so, Sean. Okay. But to Pale Fox,
it's honest work, Gerald. Don't put it down.
Not at all. But Pale Fox, I am going to say right now that I'm not leading anyone down that road. If you want to have your opinions, but again, we've been saying for 2.5 weeks how bad this allotment of candidates are at, or at least uninspiring, I should say. And so now that something has totally changed, Joe's having the issues with the number of years. I get it. I understand why, because you might be stuck on it like the Detroit Pistons are stuck with Monty Williams' contract. Is he a 7 or an 8? He's a 7-year, right?
Money?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was 7.
Yeah, it's some gaudy number. So they're stuck with him for a while. So I can understand your trepidation on that, but the Lakers have to overpay in this case in order if they wanted to get him to
Oh,
LA.
it was a 6-year, 78.5. $6-year, $78.5 million for Monty
Okay,
Williams.
no worries. So there you go. It's just a long contract that Detroit now has to deal with now for the interim for at least several more years.
I don't understand why they would do that. It's not like Monty. I have a lot of respect for Monty Williams, but you give that kind of money to someone who can really make a difference. Monty has shown in more than one area that he's not the difference maker. And you're not going to want to send that guy to Detroit where there's no talent on top of that. What exactly were they thinking to do there? If that's the market, then 6 years, 12 million per, would get Dan over here. 12 years guaranteed. I'm sorry, 6 years at 12 guaranteed with extensions, with incentives that can extend it if you win a championship or if you go to the playoffs. I'm scared of the 10-year number, guys.
The issue is,
in case this doesn't work,
Williams and Popovich got more money. Spo got term. Spo's salary is the highest in league history for a coach. 120 million. 120 million over 8 years. Now he's earned every single penny of that. The difference is, if you're going to level off with Hurley, at least in Hurley's case, Joe, he can say that, yeah, I've won 2 championships at a blue blood program. What's Monty Williams done in the NBA?
What has JJ done?
What has JJ Redick done?
JJ has insulted 2 eras of basketball and created a podcast.
And by the way, should be noted, the last college coach that came to the NBA and won a championship was whom? It was Larry Brown. So keeping that in mind, Pop came from a mid-level D4, D5 program. Michael Malone came from a D3 program. Nick Nurse, I think, came from like Saginaw, Michigan. So it's not where you're from. It's where you think your guy can take you. Nick Nurse won a championship. Pops won 6. Michael Malone won a championship. All come from different corners of the world, and that includes college basketball. So if you don't think that Bobby Hurley could do it, you wouldn't be negotiating with him right now.
Dan Hurley.
So
you keep on saying Bobby Hurley. It's Dan Hurley.
My bad.
So
we're gonna have to get used to that. I know.
Dan was spotted at UFC, I believe it was, what was it, 302?
Think about his dad.
So Dan Hurley was at the pay-per-view UFC 302, and he's on tape doing this.
Whoopee.
What do you say about that, Sean?
Well, it's 50-50 right now. I said it.
But there's only a 10% chance of that, right?
Is that Anchorman or something?
No, much older.
60% of the time, it works every
No,
time.
this was the OG one. Naked Gun, Police Squad.
That's a little before my time, Joe.
No, it wasn't. You were alive. Go ahead. Answer the question. By the way, your face must smell like ham and cheese when you take that off.
I wash it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With what? Dog bowl?
Well, I use Tide.
Tide? Prince of Tide?
I use Tide.
Okay. Why are you laughing, Gerald? That was a serious question.
Because me and the rest of the audience found it amusing, Joe.
Good. Keep laughing. So,
What do you use?
I use
You don't even know how to use a washing machine. You can touch your toes, you can't use a washing machine.
Another denial. Am I gonna have to prove to you that I can wash clothes now too? But anyways,
If I can manipulate you into doing it, I sure
look,
as hell will.
This is a discussion that's going to continue here, folks. Again, I want to thank you all for being here tonight for the Lakers Nightcap. Gerald needs to get back to Hawaiiing, right? Hawaiiing. It's
Something
still
like that.
It's still 6:00 over there. So we're gonna let Gerald go do his thing. Sean's got to go wash his face with soap. And with that, thank you for being on tonight. We came in a little early because we wanted to make sure everybody could be here.
If he proved to everybody that he could touch his toes, I'm gonna do something with this mask that the audience will enjoy, but Joe will not.
Good. Do it when I leave.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay. So with that, any comments, any questions, please email us at LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. If you want to reach Sean, just do something there. I don't know. What's your name, Sean, in social media worlds?
My name is El Sombra.
El Sombra. Okay. El Sombra, a.k.a. Sean Grice
You can find me at Sean Grice on Facebook, Sean
Good.
Grice on Instagram. Nobody looks me up, Joe.
Okay. So Sean Grice, SEAN space GRICE.
That's Sean, how you spell my name.
Grice. Sean Grice. I don't know too many Sean Grices out there. Are there more than one Sean Grices?
No.
Okay.
There's only one.
Okay, so just look for the guy that's smiling in the picture, right?
Yeah, the animated version.
Okay,
yeah.
Good for you. Good. So if you're looking for Gerald Glassford, I don't know any Gerald Glassfords either. Just go on Google and put Gerald Glassford.
There's another Gerald Glassford on Facebook.
Really?
Lakers Fast Break. Yeah, there is. But Lakers Fast Break at yahoo.com, please.
Even Gerald knows.
And if you're looking for Alan, make sure you put the I in there. Gervais.
Yeah.
Right? Not Ricky Gervais, Alan Gervais. Alien.
There's different ways to spell Alan. There's
Alien?
A-L-E-N, A-L-L-E-N, A-L-A-I-N.
D-O-N-K-E-A-E-Y.
F-U-C-K-Y-O-U.
I'm heading back to the beach to watch the sunset here in less than an hour.
All right. So we will be back tomorrow. We'll let you know whether it's going to be a snack pack, a nightcap, or a...
Could be breaking news tomorrow, Joe.
Could be breaking news. It could be breaking news.
They are meeting tomorrow.
One problem, though.
These two will not get their asses out of bed.
I am going to be at Summer Game Fest. I will not be available to host
Of course
the show.
not.
So, but hopefully it breaks. Well, they're meeting tomorrow. It's not likely going to happen tomorrow. It's probably going to happen the next day.
Magic Man, it was 3 o'clock in the morning when both
Gerald, you have an excuse. The man above us does not.
Yes. So with that, thank you for being here on the Lakers Nightcap with Joe Soro, with Sean Grice, and Gerald Glassford. Have a good night. Until next time, we'll see you next time.
Aloha, everyone.
Someone puts sugar in your.
Where?